Do you remember piling into the family car on a balmy summer night, ready for a movie under the stars? Today we're taking a nostalgic road trip to 10 forgotten drive-in movie theaters that only true Americans remember. Camden Drive-In, Camden, New Jersey, 1933. Our journey begins at the very first drive-in movie theater in history, opened on June 6, 1933, in Camden, New Jersey. Richard Hollingshead Jr., an auto parts magnate with a big dream, nailed a bedsheet to some trees in his backyard and positioned a projector on his car's hood, testing an idea that would soon captivate a nation. The result was the Camden Drive-In, sometimes called Park-In Theater, a sprawling outdoor cinema with a 40 by 50-foot screen and space for about 400 cars. For just 25 cents per car and per person, families could watch the first film, Wives Beware, without worrying if the kids got a little noisy. Imagine the novelty back then: cars lined up in neat rows, couples and kids in their Model A Fords, the crackle of a single giant speaker by the screen, which, incidentally, caused hilarious sound delays for folks in the back rows. The Camden Drive-In didn't turn a profit and closed after a few years, but it sparked a national craze. Within a decade, drive-ins were popping up everywhere, inviting Americans to enjoy movies from the comfort of their automobiles. The Camden Drive-In's legacy lives on as the birthplace of a distinctly American pastime, a sepia-toned memory of summer nights, chrome, and cinema magic. 2. Shankweiler's Drive-In, Orefield, Pennsylvania, 1934. If Camden started it all, Shankweiler's Drive-In carried the torch into the next generation. Opened in 1934, just a year after Camden, Shankweiler's in rural Pennsylvania holds the crown as America's oldest surviving drive-in theater. This humble outdoor cinema opened its gates during the Great Depression and, incredibly, still lights up its screen to this day. True American drive-in aficionados recall sneaking friends in via the trunk or jostling those clunky metal speakers on their windows at Shankweiler's on a Saturday night. The place became a beloved local institution: playgrounds under the screen, snack bar burgers that somehow tasted better under the night sky, and fireflies dancing above the parked cars. Shankweiler's endured World War II, the baby boom era of the 1950s, and even the dark days when most drive-ins went dark, a living time capsule of mid-century Americana. It's a spot only true Americans remember because they've lived it, generation after generation, snuggling under blankets, watching B-movie creature features, or the latest Hollywood reels flicker in the Pennsylvania night. To this day, if you visit Shankweiler's, you can almost hear echoes of the past, teenagers revving hot rods and families laughing, carrying on the simple, enduring magic of the drive-in. 3. Lowe's Open Air Theater, Lynn, Massachusetts, 1930s. By the post-war boom, drive-ins weren't just quaint family fun, they became gigantic monuments to American car culture. Nowhere was this more obvious than at Lowe's Open Air Theater in Lynn, Massachusetts, which opened in the late 1930s. How big, you ask? Try the largest drive-in in the world at the time. This colossus could park an astounding 5,000 cars in front of its screen. True Americans who grew up in New England might remember catching a flick at Lynn's Lowe's, craning their necks up at a screen so large it rivaled a downtown skyscraper. On a busy summer night, the lot looked like an ocean of tail fins and chrome, each car a little private world of excitement. Kids would scamper in pajamas between bumpers, while parents tuned the radio audio or hung speakers on the windows. The theater even boasted an Art Deco-style entrance that lit up the highway like a carnival, beckoning travelers off Route 1. Though Lowe's Open Air eventually went dark, closing around the late 1970s, its legend looms large. 4. Johnny All-Weather Drive-In, Copiague, New York, 1957. As the drive-in craze peaked in the 1950s, some theaters pulled out all the stops to keep crowds coming. Enter the Johnny All-Weather Drive-In on Long Island, New York, a drive-in so extravagant it was like an amusement park built around movies. Opened in 1957, this was one of the largest and most advanced drive-ins ever built. It sprawled over 28 acres and could fit 2,500 cars. But that's just the beginning. Johnny All-Weather featured an entire playground and even a miniature trolley train, cheekily called the Tally-Ho, to ferry kids and parents around the grounds. It had a full-service restaurant with rooftop seating so you could dine under the stars while the film played. And if the weather didn't cooperate or you wanted some cool air, no problem. There was a huge indoor theater on site for rainy days. Locals recall it fondly as an all-day outing. You'd arrive early for the fun, maybe a carousel ride or arcade games, then settle in for a double feature as twilight fell. In its heyday, Johnny All-Weather's massive marquee lit up Sunrise Highway, and its name itself promised entertainment, rain, or shine. Though it closed in 1984 and the grounds were later redeveloped, Johnny's lives on, in memory as the ultimate drive-in experience, where a simple movie night became an unforgettable adventure for the whole family. 5. Ed Brown's Fly-In Drive-In, Wall Township, New Jersey, 1948. Not all drive-ins were just for cars, believe it or not. One enterprising American made a drive-in for airplanes. In 1948, former Navy pilot Ed Brown Jr. opened the world's first and maybe only fly-in drive-in theater in Wall Township, New Jersey. This quirky venue had parking for 500 cars and space for 25 small planes to literally fly in for the show. Imagine cruising at dusk in your Cessna, landing on a private airfield next door, and taxiing right up behind rows of Buicks and Fords to watch a movie. As the sun set and the projectors rolled, pilots and their passengers sat in their cockpits or on the grass by their planes, enjoying the film with popcorn in hand. Talk about sky-high nostalgia. A Jeep was even on standby to tow the airplanes back to the runway after the show. During the booming late 40s, drive-ins were such a novelty that Brown's wild idea actually took off, at least for a time. Of course, only a few Americans owned private planes, so the fly-in concept remained a delightful oddity and never became mainstream. Still, locals near the Jersey Shore remember the sight of small aircraft lined up with automobiles, all facing the big screen, a scene equal parts futuristic and quaint. Ed Brown even opened a second fly-in theater in New Jersey later on. While the fly-in theaters eventually folded, land was scarce and planes are pricey, the very fact that they existed at all is a testament to American creativity. 6th Route 66 Drive-In, Carthage, Missouri, 1949. No trip down drive-in memory lane would be complete without a stop on Route 66, the Mother Road. In Carthage, Missouri, sits the 66 Drive-In Theater, a classic gem from 1949 that still glows with neon nostalgia. Back in its prime, American families road tripping along Route 66 would pull in here for a night of entertainment under the Midwestern stars. Its iconic retro neon sign, bright red 66 drive-in letters flanked by a sleepy crescent moon, still stands tall, a beacon to highway travelers. The original ticket booth, a tiny glass block building, often still sells out tickets on summer weekends. This drive-in is a time capsule of the 1950s. Think vintage car speakers, yes, some still work, classic intermission ads dancing on the screen, and the kind of small-town friendliness that makes you feel like you've stepped into American graffiti. True Americans who grew up cruising the two-lane highways recall places like the 66 Drive-In with deep fondness, stopping in after a day's drive, kids already in pajamas, the soft chirr of crickets mixing with the crackle of the movie audio. Today, the 66 Drive-In is lovingly preserved. It's even listed on the National Register of Historic Places, drawing nostalgia seekers from all over. Watching a movie here is more than entertainment, it's living history. It reminds us that once upon a time, the open road and the open-air cinema went hand in hand, painting an unforgettably American portrait of freedom and fun. 7. Spotlight. 88 Drive-In, North Sewickley, Pennsylvania, 1950s to 1980s. Not all drive-in memories are warm and fuzzy. Some come with a twist of fate that true fans will never forget. Take Spotlight 88 Drive-In in North Sewickley, Pennsylvania, a popular spot named after the nearby Route 88. For decades, it was a classic weekend hangout. Generations of Pittsburgh area folks remember its big glowing sign and double features. But Spotlight 88 entered legend for the way it exited the scene. On May 31, 1985, a powerful F3 tornado tore through the drive-in, ravaging the screen and scattering cars like toys. In the wake of the storm's destruction, the owners displayed a dark sense of humor. When drivers passed by afterward, they saw the marquee now cheekily read, "Now playing Gone with the Wind." That clever, bittersweet farewell has become the stuff of drive-in folklore. Sadly, Spotlight 88 never rebuilt or reopened after that disaster. The Twister had effectively written its final act. But true Americans who lived in the area or heard the tale remember it well, a reminder that even our beloved cultural icons can be at the mercy of nature. The image of that marquee is enduring, a proud drive-in making one last joke even as it fades into memory. Today the site has been repurposed. A flea market took over for a time and eventually other development. But the story of Spotlight 88's Gone with the Wind moment lives on as a piece of American pop culture trivia, a poignant, funny, and tragic end to a place where so many summer nights were once spent in joy. 8. Beverly Drive-In, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 1948. Down in the Deep South, the Beverly Drive-In in Mississippi was a drive-in with true down-home character and a resilience that merits a place in history. Opened in 1948 near Hattiesburg, the Beverly was a classic Southern drive-in that operated for nearly 4 decades under its original owners. Picture a warm Mississippi evening in the 1950s, families flocking to the Beverly in big, fin-tailed cars, the aroma of Southern fried goodies from the snack bar, and kids chasing fireflies under the giant screen tower. In a quirky twist, the theater's owners actually built their family home into the base of the screen tower, living literally beneath the movies. The Beverly screen was emblazoned with neon lights of a moon and stars, and it could host 500 cars, a hotspot for weekend fun. After closing in 1987, the drive-in got a second chance in the early 2000s, reopening to delight a new generation. But fate had other plans. Hurricane Katrina struck in 2005, severely damaging the Beverly screen and buildings. The beloved drive-in never recovered from that blow. Recognizing its cultural significance, preservationists had it listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2008. Unfortunately, as if nature hadn't done enough, a fire in 2010 burned what remained of the Beverly to the ground. 9. Mission Tiki Drive-In, Montclair, California, 1956. On the opposite coast, amid the palms of Southern California, one forgotten drive-in recently took its final bow, the Mission Tiki Drive-In. Opened in 1956 in Montclair, just outside Los Angeles, this drive-in flourished during the golden age of car culture. It started as a single-screen venue, but by 1975, the Mission Tiki had expanded to 4 screens with room for 2,000 cars, becoming one of the largest drive-ins in the region. What set it apart was its delightful tiki theme, In the 2000s, it was renovated with Polynesian-style thatched huts, tiki totems, and a breezy island vibe that made watching a movie feel like a mini vacation. Generations of Californians have fond memories of this place, whether it was teenagers on first dates in the 1960s or families seeking a safe outing during the recent pandemic. In fact, Mission Tiki had a resurgence in 2020 as a retro refuge when indoor theaters were closed. A reminder of how comforting the classic drive-in experience can be. People would queue up in Teslas and Toyotas, where once they came in tail-finned Cadillacs, all to catch a film under the stars, tiki torches flickering nearby. It felt like stepping back in time. Alas, after staving off closure for years, Mission Tiki finally closed for good in late 2023, ending over 6 decades of operation. The land was sold to developers, marking the end of an era. 10. Spud Drive-In Theater, Driggs, Idaho, 1953. Our final stop is a drive-in that embodies pure Americana quirkiness, the Spud Drive-In in Driggs, Idaho. Opened in 1953 in the shadow of the Grand Tetons, the Spud is a small rural drive-in with a supersized personality. Its claim to fame? A truly unforgettable marquee. A gigantic potato on a flatbed truck parked out front, proudly celebrating Idaho's famous crop. Yes, you read that right. A big fake potato. This wonderfully kitschy landmark has been greeting moviegoers for decades, becoming a beloved roadside attraction in its own right. The owners, Richard and Donnell Wood, created the giant Spud in the 1980s as a playful nod to local culture. They found an ugly old truck, gave it new paint, and built a massive potato out of insulation and cement on the back. Now Old Murphy, that's the Tater's nickname, sits eternally on Route 33, making travelers do double takes and U-turns to snap a photo. But beyond the photo op, the Spud Drive-In itself is steeped in nostalgia. With a single screen and capacity for just 75 or so cars, it's an intimate experience, like a big family gathering under the stars. Locals recall cozy summer nights here with fresh mountain air, maybe a storm rolling in over the Tetons, as they watched a flick from the comfort of a pickup truck bed. The Spud has had its ups and downs, even going digital and fighting off closure a time or two, but it's endured, much to everyone's delight. It even earned a spot on the National Register of Historic Sites, cementing its status as an Idaho icon. If this trip stirred your own memories or taught you something new, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more journeys into yesteryear. And let us know in the comments, did you ever visit a drive-in? Which of these nostalgic theaters do you wish you could experience?